Let me recommend to you, if you're thinking about this season and this time, this week you may have a scheduled devotion. There may be scriptures that you read or things that you already have on your spiritual plate this week. Let me encourage you, though, to look in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and go to the points and parts of those scriptures near the end of each book where it talks about that night, Thursday night, when Jesus he separated himself from his disciples. He and his disciples separated. They went into an upper room, they borrowed a room, and they celebrated Passover there, which is a Jewish celebration. And what they had was not the Lord's Supper at the beginning. They were familiar. They had done that every year at Passover as young Jewish men. But then when Passover meal was finished, Jesus then instituted what we think of as the Lord's Supper. And so I want us to think of that. There's probably one of the most instructive passages that actually the Corinthian church, they had so many problems. Some people talk about, I want our church to be like the New Testament church. Well, Corinth was the New Testament church, and you never want to join that church. Lots of problems. And actually, I'm grateful that they had some problems, because sometimes we experience the same kind of problems in churches. Sometimes not to the same severity that they did, but when Paul explained, they were really misusing the Lord's Supper. And so in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, Paul explained to them very carefully, this is exactly how to do it. And so most of the time, my teaching passages about the Lord's Supper will come from there. I want you to think of recreating your mind. Jesus has been telling them, he's saying, I'm serious. And they sensed that it was the very great reality too, and possibility. I'm going to be offered up. I'm going to be arrested, and I'm going to be executed. I'm going to be crucified. And that was a terrible thing to happen to someone that you thought so much of. But also, if it happens to Jesus, it's probably going to happen to all the apostles. They were thinking, if he really is arrested, then they're probably going to look for us too. I remember once when I was a teenager, I went into my parents had given me permission to spend the night with one of my friends. I think it's a new friend. I didn't really know much about him, but he was a cool friend because he had a motorcycle. I wish I had a motorcycle, but he had an extra helmet, and we went on that thing everywhere. I was surprised that my parents wouldn't let me have a motorcycle, but they'd let me go with him anywhere. So he was a pretty cool friend. And we went into a convenience store. When we got to the counter, I paid for my things, got some candy or whatever it was, and started to walk out. And then the store owner came in and grabbed hold of my friend and threw him up on the counter and started yelling and called the police. And I didn't know it, but my friend had stolen some things and put them in his pocket. He didn't tell me. He was going to brag about telling me later, but he didn't get that chance. I remember very clearly, I can see the whole scene, and I can hear his voice saying, "Grab that one too." And I said, well, that was the very first time as a musician, I actually vanished into thin air. I was just gone. He was frightened to death. I had to call his mom at work and say, his home, and when his mom came in from work, I was sitting there all by myself waiting for her to get and to tell her what had happened. But no, the other guy was, I must have been guilty too. And they were going to grab me, but I just didn't give them a chance. The disciples were feeling that as well. Even there may have been a point when they felt that. Obviously they did. Obviously it came to a point where they feared that more than protecting Jesus or going down to the ship or anything like that. The fear and the anxiety was thick as a knife that night. They're in an upper room. The only light that they have is from oil lamps, kind of a smoke hovering near the ceiling, kind of a murky light. And there they are. And it's very, very tense and very anxious. And I want you to think also, Jesus has already been in the Garden of Gethsemane. This scene here, where he's going to be in that soon. Forgive me. He will soon go from there and leave from the upper room and go to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he's literally going to weep and sweat drops of blood. And it's such intensity. Jesus is a human being. Yes, he's God. But this is something that he has subjected himself to, submitted himself to because of his love of his Father. He's committed to his Father. He loves us, but ultimately it was Jesus' love of his Father that gave him the courage to continue. It's that kind of charged atmosphere through which Jesus then took the bread and the cup. It was kind of like the leftovers, Passover leftovers, and instituted the most meaningful time of worship for any Christian. Beneath this covering are some small pieces of unleavened bread. That just means it doesn't have any yeast in it. So Terry and I, we had the chance to eat out today on a Sunday afternoon. We don't often do that. But they brought us those big, large, fluffy rolls. This is not anything that would nourish you. It doesn't taste good. And it's really not the kind of thing that you would eat as a snack. It seems to be very unpalatable. It's not bread you eat because you're hungry or because you are seeking nourishment. It's totally because of the symbol. It means something. So very little juice. And yet it's the fruit of the vine, and Jesus gave them significance. We have it covered tonight because as we studied tonight in our Bible study time at 5 o'clock, it has something to do with holiness. It's not something you should just look on. Now, our communion table is here at all the times. But then it's when we cover it up or we use it for this, I think it's very much like us. I'm just an ordinary piece of furniture. Just an ordinary guy. But we've sanctified it tonight. We've changed it. We've adorned it. God can make us holy. He can use us. Even though we're just a piece of wood or a stick of furniture. We're just pieces and parts of a leftover meal. It's what the significance he gives to it that makes it whole. The Bible, when it talks about revelation, and uses the word revelation, it's almost like giving you a peek. Kind of holding back a curtain or raising up a corner. So like you couldn't look at the whole thing. Couldn't look at it all at once. And so we approach this table tonight with that same reverence. It's very, very important to understand that at the very moment that Jesus bowed his head and gave up his life, that the covering, the veil that separated the holy place from the most holy place in the temple was torn in two. And it was torn from the top to the bottom. In other words, it wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't any kind of earthly activity. But like some force or some power from heaven reached down and pulled us aside. The veil of the temple was about 6 feet thick. It wasn't just cloth. It was made of not only the fabric, but because the temple was a permanent